Joshua chapter 11. And it came to pass when Jabin king of Hazor had heard those things, that he sent to Jobab king of Madon, and to the king of Shimron, and to the king of Achshaph, and to the kings that were on the north of the mountains, and of the plains south of Chinneroth, and in the valley, and in the borders of Dor on the west, and to the Canaanite on the east and on the west, and to the Amorite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Jebusite in the mountains, and to the Hivite under Hermon in the land of Mizpeh. And they went out, they and all their hosts with them, much people, even as the sand that is upon the seashore in multitude, and horses and chariots very many. And when all these kings were met together, they came and pitched together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Be not afraid because of them, for tomorrow about this time I will deliver them up all slain before Israel. Thou shalt hew their horses and burn their chariots with fire. So Joshua came, and all the people of war with him, against them by the waters of Merom suddenly, and they fell upon them. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of Israel, who smote them and chased them unto great Zidon, and unto Misrephothmaim, and unto the valley of Mizpeh eastward, and they smote them until they left them none remaining. And Joshua did unto them as the Lord bade them. He hewed their horses and burnt their chariots with fire. And Joshua at that time turned back and took Hazor, and smote the king thereof with the sword, for Hazor beforetime was the head of all those kingdoms. And they smote all the souls that were therein with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them. There was not any left to breathe, and he burnt Hazor with fire. And all the cities of those kings, and all the kings of them did Joshua take, and smote them with the edge of the sword, and he utterly destroyed them, as Moses the servant of the Lord commanded. But as for the cities that stood still in their strength, Israel burned none of them, save Hazor only. That did Joshua burn. And all the spoil of these cities and the cattle the children of Israel took for a prey unto themselves, but every man they smote with the edge of the sword, until they had destroyed them, neither left they any to breathe. And the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses his servant, so did Moses command Joshua, and so did Joshua. He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses. So Joshua took all that land, the hills, and all the south country, and all the land of Goshen, and the valley, and the plain, and the mountain of Israel, and the valley of the same, even from Mount Halak that goeth up to Seir, even unto Balgad, in the valley of Lebanon under Mount Hermon, and all their kings he took, and smote them and slew them. Joshua made war a long time with all those kings. There was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel, save the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gideon. All other they took in battle. For it was of the Lord to harden their hearts, that they should come against Israel to battle, that he might destroy them utterly, and that they might have no favor, but that he might destroy them as the Lord commanded Moses. And at that time came Joshua, and cut off the Anakims from the mountains, from Hebron, and from Debir, and from Anab, and from all the mountains of Judah, and from all the mountains of Israel. Joshua destroyed them utterly with their cities. There were none of the Anakims left in the land of the children of Israel. Only in Gaza, in Gath, and in Ashdod there remained. So Joshua took the whole land, according to all that the Lord said unto Moses. And Joshua gave it for an inheritance unto Israel, according to the divisions by their tribes, and the land rested from war. Well, here we see a summary of probably about 6 years of battle here. Of the approximately 7 years that Joshua and the children of Israel were battling to free the land of Israel, land that became Israel, Canaan, from the Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, all the rest of it. About 1 year was occupied in the south, and 6 years, we believe, in the north. And it was a long way from Gilgal to go, and it didn't go as well as Joshua would have wanted. You got to understand that there are two separate sets of personalities here. We have Joshua, who is absolutely totally dedicated, totally consecrated, will do everything that Moses told him, everything that God tells him. And then we have an army of half-hearted, partly obedient people. and their lack of personal righteousness basically limited God's ability to help them. They just sort of puttered along and got part of what they could have had, but they didn't have anywhere near what they could have. Anyway, the king of Hazor, Jabin, Hazor is in northern Israel, decided that they were going to fight against Israel, and so they send out the challenge. They gather the other kings together, and they are at the waters of Merom. Now, Lake Merom is a small lake north of the Sea of Galilee, freshwater lake, and they decide that they're going to have a battle there, and they've got people and horses and chariots and all the rest of that stuff. And the Lord says to Joshua, "Be not afraid of them, for tomorrow about this time I will deliver them up. Thou shalt hew, H-O-U-G-H, their horses, and burn their chariots with fire." Now, hew means basically to cut the tendons. Now, you got to understand, horses and chariots then were military technology and horrible things. What they used to do with the chariots was they used to put knives, sorts of knives, sickles, blades, on the chariot wheels, and they would drive these things, bunches of these blades, and as the wheel was going around, if anybody was standing beside it, they would have their legs hacked off. And so they would drive these chariots into the massed soldiers, and it was just bloody thing. And so they decided that that particular point in time they didn't want to have any of that available. And so when Joshua came and all the people, they came suddenly, they fell on them, they started to win, and the kings and all the rest of it, they smote them and there was none remaining. And they hewed the horses, and what that meant was they cut the tendons on the back of the legs, so the horse was absolutely useless for any kind of work, any kind of drawing a chariot, whatever. But it says that Joshua, they were a long time doing this work up there, capturing all the cities. And so it was verse 18, Joshua made war a long time with those kings. And basically, at the end, it says, so Joshua, verse 23, and Joshua took the whole land according to all the Lord said unto Moses, and Joshua gave it for an inheritance unto Israel according to the divisions of the tribe, and the land rested from war. Now, as this we see, in the 7th year, there was supposed to be a Jubilee year. The land was supposed to rest, and so it was significant that this 7th year, Joshua was prepared to let the land rest from war, even though, and you need to understand that because of the personal unrighteousness of the vast majority of the soldiers and the camp of Israel as a group, who were so much less religious, less competent, less faithful than Joshua, they didn't get all the cities on the coast. They didn't get everything. And they didn't wipe out all the religion of all the people who were doing human sacrifices and all kinds of other things either. And so they had a partial victory throughout all of the land, but they didn't have a total victory anywhere. And that eventually caused them more problems than they could survive.